All right, good evening. We will call to order the regular Heath City Council meeting, April 28th, 2026 at 6:30 p.m. If you'd all rise for the invocation and pledge of allegiance, please.
Please bow your heads. Heavenly Father, we come before you with gratitude and humility, asking your guidance for our city council and all who serve in leadership at the local, state, and national levels. Grant them wisdom, integrity, and discernment as they make decisions that shape our communities. We pray for unity among our leaders, that they would work together with respect, even in times of disagreement. Remind us all that our system of government is strengthened through dialogue, understanding, and a shared commitment to the common good. Lord, we ask for your peace over our civic life. Make it clear in our hearts and in our actions that violence has no place in our political process or in our government. Replace division with cooperation, anger with understanding, and fear with hope. May your wisdom prevail in every decision, and may your peace dwell in our land. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, one under God, one and indivisible.
God bless Texas. All right. All right, thank you, everyone. We'll move into agenda item number 2. This is our public comment. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I apologize. Give me just 1 second. Mr. Mayor, we have Michael Zielinskis here to speak tonight.
Good evening, Mayor and Council members. My name is Michael Zielinskis, 109 Berkshire Drive in Heath. I am an almost 18-year resident of Heath, president of the Stoneley HOA, representing over 230 homes, and I stand here tonight representing over 200 additional people who have signed a petition through change.org calling for one clear direction: widen 740 and only 740, nothing more, as per the project on the Trip 21 bond program. Multiple residents spoke at the last meeting in opposition to any route, alternate routes, and they did not feel heard. I did not hear anyone speak in favor of alternate routes. And no one has spoken tonight in favor of alternate routes. According to the city's own background, I think I might have given you a page of mine.
Oh, you did. Hang on just a second, Mike. I apologize. There you go.
Thank you. According to the city's own background on item 5A tonight, the county asked the city of Heath to confirm whether it would proceed with the approved Trip 21 bond program project, specifically that the engineering and planning effort would evaluate widening the roadway along with its existing alignment rather than pursuing new alignments. The background further states that the council requested the project move forward as it currently stands while remaining open to alternate routes, except in the area near Stoneley as depicted in the city's master thoroughfare plan. Why complicate it? While it appears the scope of this project is being expanded beyond simply widening the road, adding unnecessary complexity, I am here to ask that the protection for the Stoneley area be formally codified so the issue does not have to be revisited again in the future. I'm here to make sure that message is heard loudly and clearly. This comes down to something very simple. A commitment was made. When this bond was supported and funded, residents were told exactly what it meant. FM 740 would be widened and it would stay where it is. The county asked you to confirm that. That is all the county wanted your affirmation to approve. Not remain open to alternate alignments, not rerouted, not redirected through neighborhoods, not reopened for alternate paths. That is what people voted for. That is what people relied on, and that is what needs to be honored. The county is asking for direction. If they are prepared to invest millions of dollars of funds to get this project shovel-ready, they are not looking for alternatives. They are looking for a clear answer. So give them one. Widen 740, nothing more, as per the project on the Trip 21 bond program. The moment you introduce alternate routes through neighborhoods, you are not solving traffic. You are moving the problem onto people who live here. You are turning residential streets into commuter corridors. You are bringing traffic, noise, and safety risks into areas never designed for it. You are putting pressure on property values and changing the character of our neighborhoods. All to make life easier for people who are just passing through. We have seen where that leads. Right here in Texas, the expansion of I-45 in Houston has shown exactly what happens when road projects push into established communities. Homes are impacted, neighborhoods are disrupted, and the people who live there are left dealing with consequences for decades. Once those decisions are made, they are permanent. We should not make that mistake here. This beautiful, premier outdoor lifestyle community of Heath exists for the people who live here, not as a shortcut for people who are trying to solve or trying to get somewhere else faster. And to be clear, we are not saying don't fix the problem. We are saying deliver the solution that was promised. Widen 740, nothing more. So this comes down to one question. Are we keeping our word to the residents of this city or not? The council has a responsibility to honor what was agreed to and funded, be transparent about the information driving decisions, and give the county a clear, consistent direction in alignment with the original funding of the Trip 21 bond program. Do not introduce alternate routes into this process. Stand with the residents of Heath, not the traffic moving through it. Widen 740, nothing more, as per the project on the Trip 21 bond program. We did not vote to become a shortcut. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Alexander?
Mayor, we have Bill Wallace here to speak tonight.
Good evening, Bill.
Hi, everyone. Bill Wallace, 446 Ridgemont Drive here in Heath. The HOA president of the Ridge. I came in that capacity. The neighborhood has asked me to be a representative and to watch what's going on with the council. 2 weeks ago, y'all all stood up, or most of you stood up and said you wanted the corridors AC and MC off the thoroughfare plan, which they are very much in support of, and I'm going to come stay here, be here to see and make sure that that process is carried out and y'all follow through. I do believe y'all will follow through with your promises on that. I also wanted to be here in support for Stone Lee as well. They are our neighbors, and we also agree that 740 should stay in its existing path and not be a shortcut going right past homes in Stone Lee. That's not fair to them. When we had that bond proposal, we had a big meeting in that room, and we were told there was not going to be any reroutes or any new routes or anything else done. It was going to be just fixing 740. Really would hope y'all would do what we were promised back then. We can have a bunch of residents up here, have pitchforks out and be ugly and all that. This is Heath. Let's try to keep it nice and let y'all honor, we'll honor y'all, y'all honor us, and just follow up, and we're just going to make sure that y'all follow through with what y'all have said and just try to work with the neighbors here and work with Stone Lee, work with the Ridge. We can have a bunch of residents up here, have pitchforks out. Oh, it's feedback. Okay, appreciate it. Thanks.
All right. Very good. Mr. Alexander?
Mr. Mayor, we have Scott Woodard here to speak.
Mr. Scott?
Good evening. I'm Scott Woodard. I live at 1217 Valley Trail, which is in Cove Ridge. Don't know if you all know where that's at or not, but small. I think it's like the oldest subdivision in Heath, as I recall. Been a citizen of Heath going on 29 years now, and I've been in here before to talk about the drainage issue that we have through Cove Ridge. It still exists today. There's been no additional work or any work ever done on it. So the land continues to be drained away, especially with the heavy rains that we've been getting for the last few years in particular. But the drain itself starts in Mariah Bay, goes underground through a pipe that the city installed at the cul-de-sac there. But once it comes into the Cove Ridge side, it opens up. It's a natural drain. There's no barriers. There's nothing to prevent any form of draining at all. It makes a steep run down the ridge through my property. I happen to be the last property before it hits the channel. And so by that point, there's 7 different drains that are actually coming into that drain. And because of that, the water flow is just tremendous. I've seen it go from a very narrow drain, natural drain, to about 15, 20 feet wide. due to the rains that come through. So it overflows the drain itself, which obviously washes away everybody's property. I've talked to other neighbors that are on it and such. They're in agreement that they would like something to be done, but right now I think I'm the only one speaking up. But I think it goes to the watershed, you know, the city. I don't know that the city's ever done anything about the watershed and the amounts of rooftops that have been added since I've moved here, but I think that's actually increased the issue. You know, I know my neighbors have done some things to, you know, mitigate the issue. I have as well, but it's a tough problem. At one point, the city had a program where they would spend up to, I think it was $15,000 to help with the drainage system, and that was offered to everybody throughout the city. When I applied for it, they basically modified the program and then responded saying no, they would not be participating in that. So, I mean, I'm willing to work with the city if there's something we can do to get it solved, but ultimately, it's very costly. I think I've spent somewhere between $10,000 and $15,000 doing some work with the engineers and such to try and get it solved or figure out a way to solve it. But obviously, if the city's not able to help or isn't willing to help, it's not going to get solved. So that's it. Any questions? Or one question I have is who do I contact?
Yep.
And how can we start talking about this issue? You know, I know what's going on throughout the city. I get that part. But if we could form something and come in and talk to the folks that are on that drain and live there, love to do it. So,
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, sir.
who do I contact?
Yep, so Mr. Alexander will have staff that will connect up with you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good one.
All right. Mr. Alexander?
Mr. Mayor, that's all we have on the list.
Okay, very well. And on Cove Ridge, I know that Mr. Creed was looking at one of the drains, because there is a bridge right on Cove Ridge. So as you guys look at that, there for sure is some impediment there that he was gonna look at this last week, so.
Yes, sir. We'll look into
Very
that.
good. Okay, all right. Moving into agenda item number 3, this is our city manager comments and council comments. Mr. Alexander?
Mr. Mayor, I have no comments for this evening.
No comments, very well. Council, at this time, do you have any comments? No comments? Any remotely? Very well. Then we will move into agenda item number 4. This is our consent agenda. 4.A, action regarding the minutes of the April 14th, 2026 regular meeting. 4.B, action regarding the minutes of the April 8th, 2026 City Council Finance and Audit Advisory Board joint work session. First ever, great meeting. It's great to have unbelievable board there. 4.C, discussion and action regarding a resolution authorizing the submission of a grant application to provide financial support to law enforcement, task forces and agencies for economic motor vehicle theft, including catalytic converter theft. 4.D, this is action regarding the purchase of 3 trucks for the Public Works Department as part of the fleet maintenance program. And then 4.E, action regarding an ordinance revising, amending, restating, codifying, and compiling the existing code of ordinances for 2025. I believe everyone's had time to look over the consent agenda. It's pretty straightforward. At this time, the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the consent agenda.
Very well. We have a motion on the floor by Councilman Dodson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilwoman Horn. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. All right, at this time, we'll move into agenda item 5.A, discussion and action regarding the FM 740 widening project. Mr. Alexander.
Thank you, Mayor, City Council members. At the last City Council meeting, while we didn't have an action item on the agenda related to the FM 740 widening project, council, by way of consensus, directed staff to communicate to the county the city's desire to move forward with the widening of FM 740, not taking into account some of the proposed roadways on the current master thoroughfare plan, as city council is requesting those to go through an amendment process to have those two roads that are proposed most closely around Stone Lee, the subdivision Stone Lee, have those removed and go through that process. But at the same time, be open-minded to alternative alignments as TxDOT begins to pursue this widening project for FM 740. And so I wrote a letter, I provided that letter in your packet to the county, expressing that sentiment of the city and the city council to move forward on that project in that manner. We've had some communication since that time, me, the mayor, and we've had communications with correspondences between me and the judge, as well as our Commissioner Lauren Lichty, who's here tonight as well, regarding kind of what's the next step. And the response at this point from the county has been, through Commissioner Lichty, to have council take action on moving forward with that widening project. I received a correspondence from Commissioner Lichty yesterday. I sent that out to you later this evening in your email, kind of expanding on that request to include some additional wording with regards to having the city authorize, either the mayor or have the city authorized to execute documents related to the FM 740 that might come up during the course of that project. And I provided that email to you. It mentions in the email a resolution. Clearly, we don't have a resolution on the agenda this evening. This item is an action item. And so based on the discussion that council has this evening, I would recommend that council take action at the end of the discussion, making a motion to have the county move forward on the widening project for FM 740 in the manner that council would like to see that happen. And based on that action, we'll forward a letter from the mayor, perhaps, that lays out the action taken by council this evening, if council decides to take action this evening, along with the minutes when they get approved by the city council at the next meeting, providing that record for the county, Rockwall County and the Commissioners Court related to this project. So that's kind of where we stand at this point. I think I've updated council a little bit that the mayor and I have met with TxDOT, the area engineer of TxDOT spoke about this project and the status of this project. And we've also met with yesterday the county commissioner and the county's consultant, ITS, John Polster, and his group about the status of this project and kind of how that project would move forward if council provided direction by way of a motion or action from the city council to have the county pursue this project.
Very good. So we had a lively discussion. So very much appreciate the council and the residents for talking this over. There's a few items, right? We're going to go separate. We're going to kind of go wide and then go deep. As we talked about the thoroughfare plan obviously has two roads identified. In that thoroughfare plan, we knew when we started talking to the county about the Trip 21 and potentially voting to continue the planning for 740 and the widening of that this would be something that would need to be discussed. And in fact, one of the meetings myself and Mr. Alexander had with TxDOT, they did concur that one of those roads, which was identified in between Ridge and Stoneley, that was a cut through and it was thought to be 740 and it would feed over into essentially the 550 and the Rabbit Ridge. So just so everybody's aware. However, we also talked about what the council had recently stated was, hey, we want to revisit our thoroughfare plan because those two roads are not necessarily something that our residents want to see. Do you have any problems with that? And just so everybody knows, TxDOT said, no, we don't have any problems with that. We look at your thoroughfare plan as a way to guide some of these decision-making processes. And so if you wanted to take those off, absolutely. I believe the term that was used a number of times was we always want to listen to the locally preferred. Okay, so I'm going to talk about two different things, the technically preferred and then the locally preferred. Okay, and that's kind of how TxDOT teed some things up, as well as ITS in our county meeting. And so once we kind of took that off the table, we said, okay, let's just talk about 740 so we can understand what we're trying to solve a problem. We all believe that there is a concern. We do know that we have quite a bit of traffic, and it is predominantly people traversing through the city, but it's also residents that live on this road. There are neighborhoods that are on this road. And so getting in and out on this road, the Ridge is a great example. Heath Goffin is a great example. And there's a few other neighborhoods that do feed into this road, as well as some estate lots. And so we know that the S-curves are dangerous. I believe we identified that. Thank you to the chairwoman and that subcommittee for addressing some of the traffic numbers that we knew that we had to look at, but also identifying things of concern all the way down to traffic when there's trash pickup. So great, robust dialogue. And then as we continued the dialogue with ITS, I said, what are your concerns? And I said the same thing to TxDOT. I said, what are your concerns when you start thinking about widening 740? And what they kept pointing to is they said, really, Mayor, the biggest concerns we have is the S-curves. Because we have standards. When you have these sharp 90-degree turns, it's a 45-mile-an-hour road that really kind of compresses down to 20 miles an hour around the turns. And so as we go to widen it, we have concerns there. I said, okay, very well. Do you have concerns as you come up to the last, what they called the northern 90-degree, where these other two kind of roads were in this thoroughfare plan? They said, well, it depends on how you handle the S-curves, but not necessarily. I said, okay. Are you proposing a cut through over to 550? Is it TxDOT's interest to do something along those lines? I never once got any feedback from TxDOT, nor from ITS or the county that said, yes, this is our interest. This is what we want to do. So for me, that was kind of good to hear. Okay, so we've talked about these cut-throughs in the nature of, well, we've got an easement that cuts between these two neighborhoods. It is a city easement, is now my understanding, and it was in a thoroughfare plan. But neither one of these entities or the county is saying that's something that they want to do. For me, that was a sigh of relief. Great, because I want to do the will of the people, as I made it very clear in the last meeting. At the same time, we want to be open-minded. That was something that I heard from the dais, is that, hey, we want to be open-minded. We don't want to prejudice this process. We don't want to necessarily not hear what the engineers have to say. I heard you loud and clear, and so therefore that dialogue was something I brought to the table. And I said, can you tell me, without us prejudicing this process, how do you approach this? What does this even look like? I'm not a road guy. Teach me how the process works. They said, Mayor, it goes something like this. You're gonna bless the county, you're gonna bless the bond money, and we're gonna go to work. I said, great. How long does that take to go to work? They said, well, it takes a minute. I said, okay. But you're gonna get to work pretty quick. They said, yeah. I said, great. So what is this called? Is it environmental studies? Is it this? Is it that? They said, oh, it's environmental studies. It's utility movement. It's all these moving parts, but we call it schematics. So great. Perfect. Now I'm getting in with the lingo. So you're going to go into schematics. How long does schematics take? They said, Mayor, it's going to take 2 to 3 years. So I want to just set the tone of the process. The process in and of itself is 2 to 3, and then also TxDOT even said maybe 4 to 5. Okay? I said, okay, great, understood. How long till we see a road? TxDOT said, Mayor, 10 plus years. I said, okay, good to know. I asked ITS. They said, probably 10 years. Best case scenario I've ever seen in my entire career, I believe John Polster said, he said 5 years. In fact, I saw the county say, when was the last time you saw 5 years? And I got to watch this fun dialogue because I think it's 10 years. It's 10 plus years. So what does all that mean? That means that we are not making a decision today that is going to do anything that's going to harm any resident right now. Point blank. In schematics, what they do is they come back to the city. And they do two things. They do a technical preferred, and then they do a local preferred, and then they try to work with you. And I actually got to watch some of the exercise a little bit, because I said, hey, it's on the record. 740 widening is all I care about. As far as the rest of the council, they would also like to leave it open-ended. So they started walking me through some of the things. They never once really got to Stoneley or the Ridge. They kept talking about the 3 S-curves. And they said, Mayor, here's our concern. If we have to take 120 feet, if we have to take 180 feet, here's some of the houses or properties that we have concern with. And I said, as Mr. Alexander can state, I don't want us to harm anyone that is their homestead, even if it's one home. And they said, nor do we. What we would like to do is, we hear you loud and clear that you guys want to widen 740, but we would want to look at these routes because there is a lot of ag land that we might be able to come around it. So we wouldn't have to basically take anyone's homestead. So just so everybody's clear, I found that to be refreshing. Does that mean that I'm in some false sense of security on that? I'm not. But it was very refreshing to know that they want to get it right with the local community. They understand that 740 and the widening is their direction, but they also understand that, hey, we're not trying to figure out cut-throughs. We're just trying to figure out how we don't take somebody's property if we widen the S-curves. So I just wanted to lay this all out there because I can tell you, if you were at the last meeting, you heard how passionate I can be in making sure that don't widen anything, don't, stick straight to 740. But I got a little bit more clarity on their approach and where their biggest heartburn is. That does not affect any connector or alternate route, as some people like to call it, to cut through over to 550. So with that being said, I just wanted to give some clarity. I also have a follow-up meeting with Mr. Alexander with the district engineer. So we met with the area engineer as well as the county and ITS, which is the third-party consultant with the county. And then we will be meeting with the district engineer as well to have pretty much very similar conversations. Okay. So before we move into any action, what I'd like to do is open the floor again for some dialogue. So at this time, the chair will open the floor for dialogue and discussion between the council.
Mr. Mayor, I'd love to comment on this. So after the meeting last week, I talked to several citizens. I talked to people that were elected at the time to find out more information about what the Trip 21 bond funds were, what the conversation was about them. And we had several people at the podium talking about that. It is my feeling that in regard to the Trip 21 bond funds, the discussion has already been made. It's already been had what they wanted. And it was clear what they wanted when they voted for this funding. And that was that the engineering studies be done on the current alignment of 740. I personally feel like we would be doing a disservice to the citizens if we were to look at that decision and then go, yeah, well, no, we don't want to do that. That those bond funds were already passed under a different premise, and to do anything else to me is just not acceptable.
Very good. Any other council members for discussion? Councilman Myers?
Mr. Mayor, I did a little research myself, and I'm just going to pretty much echo on what Councilman Cindy had to say, because that's pretty much the consensus that I had. We're talking with some prior council members and emails with some citizens that was the only thing that was to be done was to widen the 740.
Very good. Thank you, Councilman Myers. Any other discussion by council? Any remote?
No, Mr. Mayor.
I guess my only, I guess my only clarification is, are we attempting then to essentially kneecap the engineering and the tech dots technically preferred alignment? I mean, it might be the current alignment and it perhaps is not, but is that the will to kneecap them? It just could mean that they shelve the project until, if they don't like the results of the engineering recommendations.
Okay, very good. Great question. I can tell you that I would not necessarily characterize any local preferred to be kneecapping. I understand the question from the standpoint of you're trying to make sure that engineers can do their best work, which I think is understandable. However, I never heard TxDOT nor ITS nor the county claim that if they don't like what our local preferred route is, that they would shelf it. In fact, I heard the exact opposite. I heard 3 different parties tell me over and over again, frankly, that they want to have a great working relationship with the city and they need our support. I believe was the tone of both of those entities, as well as the county.
Okay. If you were to receive new or different information, how would that, I guess, be processed?
In an open meeting such as this,
Okay.
but you are welcome, all council is welcome to, reach out to anyone that you would like. Reach out to TxDOT, reach out to ITS, reach out to Commissioner Lichty. He was in the meeting with myself and Mr. Alexander when ITS said that. So.
Okay. Well, great.
But great concern. I totally understand. I think, when I heard that for the first time, I thought, man, I haven't had anybody say that. In fact, I think that was our dialogue in the last meeting. I haven't heard that, and I definitely did not hear that in these meetings at all. So, and they did ask for direction. I mean, I heard that a number of times. You guys tell us directionally what you're looking for. The way that it came across, Mr. Alexander, you can also step in here. The way it came across to me is that we're going to go after what you're looking for, and that is that is not their technical preferred, that is their local preferred, and then where they see issues, they're going to look for a technical preferred.
Yeah, I think that's correct, Mayor, and I could see TxDOT. I mean, I can't predict what will happen as we go forward. We can only ask. For example, the council, what I would kind of expect, or I suppose may happen, is council asks TxDOT or the county and TxDOT to move forward with the widening project as presented in the Trip 21 program, as approved by the voters of Rockwall County. And then that gets moved forward by hiring consultants to come in and start their work. And they might get into these schematics and identify that there is a different route that affects less people. That they study the existing route and then they start looking at other ways that have different ways that have less impact on people's homes, their properties, things of that nature.
But the only thing addressed when they spoke about that, just for clarification, they only spoke of that in the S-curves. They never once said anything.
That's true.
As you come into town.
That's true.
As you have the neighborhood, the Ridge, and Stoneleigh. It was very concentrated to, this is where our heartburn is.
Thank you for the clarification. That is exactly right. And that's kind of where we got into the discussion about, well, we might continue 740 south and avoid coming up the way it does now and avoid these S-curves. And that there may be a pathway that avoids impacting people's homes and properties. And so it could be, I guess what I'm trying to just caution everybody with, as TxDOT gets into this and the county gets into this, they might identify a route that avoids those S-curves altogether and takes the road in a different way, in a way that doesn't impact as many homes. Again, I don't know, I'm not an engineer, but I could see that that kind of analysis being done and being brought back to the city to take a look at to see if we are in favor of that or not. And I think one of the things we heard over and over again is that they're going to look to the city to see if whatever they end up doing is supported locally. And if it's not, they've got other communities where they're doing road projects that are supportive of those road projects, and they would prefer to move on with those and work on those.
Yeah, and again, when they were presenting this, because I told them, you got to talk to me not as a road guy, you got to talk to me as just a regular guy that has a house over in Heath and happened to be the mayor, because that's how I feel about myself. I said, look, you got to walk me backwards. And they made it very, very clear that in their schematic process, this is just kind of what they do anyways. So telling them to widen 740, this would be their process anyways. And they kept referring to it as, look, we want your local support for the local preferred route, and we're going to look for the technical preferred route where there's major issues. And being super pragmatic about this, if you got a 90-degree turn and it's a 45 mile an hour, and if they have to take another 50, 80 feet and they don't have it, and you got to take out somebody's home, they're going to come back and have a conversation with you. That's kind of how they presented it to me, which honestly, I appreciated that, right? Because we don't ever want to make a carte blanche decision that takes out somebody's homestead. I don't think anybody wants that, right? So essentially, but never in any of these conversations, as they talked about the local preferred, was local preferred second to a technical route, ever. It was local preferred, but yes, we're going to have dialogue around technical preferred. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I just have a few thoughts, Mayor. And a lot of what you're saying makes so much sense. They always want to start with widening an existing alignment if they can. As many know, my husband's a traffic engineer, and I've asked him many times what he thought the solution to 740 would be. And every time he shakes his head and said, give me $1 million, a staff of engineers, and a couple of years, and then I'll tell you. But there's no guessing, right? And I do think what Stephen Alexander mentioned about it may not be any at all aligned with the current alignment. They might take 740 somewhere completely different that we hadn't ever considered. So to be clear, we're not limiting TxDOT to only consider the existing alignment. Do we? I think at the end of the day, we all just want a road that meets the needs and minimizes impacts. Is that what we want?
Yes, if I may here, yes, there are, in my opinion, a lot of factors that you bake into when you look at solving a problem as such. We failed to mention at the last council meeting that we're putting a fire station right between the two S-curves. We did talk about being behind a trash truck, but it is concerning. How are we going to get these fire trucks around these S-curves? How are we going to get it to these houses in the event of a unfortunate event of a fire? But yes, to consider and bake in all of these things, and that's what these engineers will do, which I do. That is my profession in representing owners and in designing and working with engineers, and it is a long process. But at the end of the day, if you're just anchored to the right thing, which would be the voice of the citizens, and anchored to public safety, and considering the fire truck and all the things, right? Then you get there. But it has to do with how you're anchored in the beginning, and I feel confident that when you hire the professionals, when you go through these processes, you don't have all of the emotions and things. It's driven, in my opinion, with the intention of not only the public but also public safety and everything else. So that's my take on that.
Very good. Councilwoman Horn?
I just want to echo that. I feel like this has already been solved. the hearing held for this, for these Trip 21 bond project, they've already had a hearing about this, and the citizens were clear on what they wanted. I think we need to look at this project separately and where that money was originally earmarked and what the citizens said. And I feel it's just not our place to change that. And so, and after doing a little research, and I'm no engineer, S-curves, because that was the buzzword that I heard about, can be dealt with in a number of different ways to make them less of an issue. So, and like I said, I'm not an engineer, but I would like for TxDOT to tell us what are some of the ways that they could handle those. To me, it's not, we can't just go, okay, whatever you said before, we don't agree, so we're going to look for different ways. I think this has already been decided.
Okay, very well. Any other comments or discussion on this? I think that at the end of the day, going back to what I originally stated, is that the bond money was for the widening of 740. I think you've made some very valid points, Councilwoman Thurgood. Nobody wants to, I believe as you called it, kneecap any engineers. And I don't feel like TxDOT feels kneecapped by us giving the direction to widen 740. I think that that's a good direction for them, and they're going to look at the local preferred and then give council, and I won't be here at the dais. There will be a different mayor. I will have termed out by then. So there will be a council and a mayor that gets to address how did they handle the local preferred, and did they have a technical preferred because they have concerns about taking out someone's homestead. I think that needs to be understood, that is really what I kept hearing that they will be doing. And I think that that's a balance between what the council was saying. At the same time, it's a balance between what the mayor was trying to say at the last meeting is that, look, we don't want to allow just unemotional people to direct or dictate anything for us and our homes and our community. We don't necessarily, although we'd like, I think Councilman Dodson stated, hey, we'd like the data points. And I think my immediate response was, I really don't care about data points. I care about the residents. But also after talking to them, I get where they're coming from. I get that they're going to try to figure out how to not take out somebody's home. And but to Councilwoman Horn's point is that they also have secondary mechanisms. And the secondary mechanisms are speed limit. That changes their policy of what widths that they need, right? They also have secondary requirements, 6 lanes, 4 lanes, right? Those are all elements that play into this that they assured me that this council and this mayor and staff will be at the table addressing through the entire process. And to your point, that would probably be in 3 years. But I do know that by taking off these 2, let's call them alternate routes, just for lack of a better term, taking these alternate routes off of the thoroughfare plan, if I lived in Stoneley and I lived in the Ridge, that's what I would want to see. Because we don't really want to show TxDOT this is something we want when it's really not something we want. And that's why we have to go back and codify that, because I was in the room years ago. I do know that that was not something that they wanted. And as the mayor, is a pretty uncomfortable circumstance whenever I'm sitting here looking at, okay, we definitely want some of the bond money to address our roads, and 740 being one of them. And then I've got these 2 alternate roads that could be used for a cut through that I know that at the time those residents didn't want it. And then we got to hear again, they still don't want it. So we need to take those off, and then that tells TxDOT exactly what message we want them to hear. We don't need a road that cuts through over to 550 in between two of our neighborhoods. We don't need a road that skirts the backside of one of those neighborhoods. And I don't think that's asking too much of this council, and I don't think that that's the intent of the council, is to not do the will of the people. I've had the honor of working with all of you, and, you know, we don't always agree on everything, but I do know that you guys all want to do the will of the people, and you're just concerned about this road and getting it handled appropriately, and you don't want to kneecap, I think in those terms, you don't want to kneecap TxDOT, and I would agree with you. So what I believe what I'm hearing, and please correct me in discussion, I believe what I'm hearing is that we would like to take some action on this item and give direction to the county that we do want to widen 740, and we do want to lay out the local preferred to be the current road per the Trip 21 bond, but we also want to hear their technical preferred, so then that way we can have some dialogue, because we don't want to inadvertently take out somebody's home by an arbitrary decision in 3 years to 5 years to maybe 10 years. Is that what
Mayor.
Is that what I'm hearing? Yes, Councilwoman.
Yeah, I think so. I have a motion prepared. It's not exactly what you just said, but I'd be happy to read it and have further discussion.
Okay.
That's all right? All right. I move that the City of Heath direct Rockwall County to proceed with the FM 740 preliminary engineering study and widening project. That the city work cooperatively with Rockwall County and TxDOT, accept the professional engineering recommendations, and support construction of 740 consistent with final approved engineering recommendations and applicable law. And authorize execution of any documents, instruments, agreements, or approvals requested by the county in connection with the study and related work.
Do we have a second? The motion dies. I believe that the motion dies in that scenario because of some secondary language. Some of that secondary language be a potential carte blanche acceptance by the county, and I believe the term was acceptance of the engineering. By default, you would be indirectly giving inappropriate action and authority to the county and to engineers, and I do not agree with that. And I do not believe that that's been the will of the discussion that I've overheard. I think we're all in alignment for the most part of what we're trying to get accomplished, but I do not believe that that motion landed without those two carve-outs. I think that that's probably where it did not find a second. So at this time, the chair will open the floor again to entertain a motion.
I'll take a stab at it, Mayor. I make a motion that we support the proposed FM 740 widening project as it is described in the Trip 21 bond program along its existing alignment only.
Very well. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
Mayor, I'll second.
Okay. We have a second by Councilman Myers. I'm going to leave it open for discussion.
Can you say that again or read it? Do you mind if I read it?
Sure.
Do you have it wrote down?
Yeah, I have it written down. You can't read it. My handwriting's horrible. Go for it.
I can give you the motion clarity without reading it.
Yeah, it is pretty sloppy.
She referenced making a motion to guide the county that we would like to follow the Trip 21 acknowledgement and widen 740 as it currently sits. So you have a motion, you have a second.
My only concern with that motion is that I am concerned that the Trip 21 bond did not even open for 740 to go in a completely different direction, as Stephen Alexander mentioned, his discussion suggested. Like with all the S-curves, maybe it just completely goes somewhere completely different, right? What about technical adjustments where they're referred, There was just a lot left out of that, and it sounds too strict.
Okay.
And I wouldn't want to spend all the money on something that couldn't be built or wouldn't be built.
Sure, duly noted. I believe the council's heard your reference. I too will throw this into discussion. I did not hear that TxDOT would abandon it because you gave the direction to start the engineering schematics on 740 widening. I don't
So
think
would
that-
you
I
agree
haven't heard-
then?
Councilwoman Thurgood, please. There's
would
probably
you-
a latency issue here, but hold on. So I do know that no one has told me that would happen, right? So I'm not sure that we need to create a concern about something that has never been mentioned.
Okay. Okay. Well, what about the locally preferred, but with technical adjustments where needed?
Well, I think you're going to get a technical recommendation no matter what your locally preferred is.
Right.
So again, I'm trying to leave this open. You've got a motion and a second, but I want good dialogue. Is that I have not heard anyone from TxDOT or ITS describe this in a way. If you tell us to begin the process and start doing the schematics for widening 740 as it currently sits, I have not heard one person say, well, then we're only going to look at that road and we're not going to look at any impediments.
So I think at the end of the day, Mr. Mayor, they're going to come back and they're going to have potentially some technical recommendations, but the onus is upon us to whether we accept or whether we reject those.
That's right.
Particularly if we have a predisposition towards a locally preferred route.
Yeah, and the way I look at it, by the motion that was set forth and seconded, is that I feel like that's really what your residents want to see, and if the technical comes into question and they want to have dialogue with the city, it's going to be on open record, and then that council and that mayor is going to have some of those conversations. And we did set the wheels in motion on the schematics process of widening 740, and at that time, if that's not the will of the people, then that council at that time can pivot. I don't think that this is you're making a decision today that for sure is the decision into perpetuity. But it does set forth the expectation, no different than taking off those two roads on your thoroughfare plan. You're taking those off to set the tonality of where you want your roads. That doesn't mean that, ladies and gentlemen, you will never get a road in between Stoneleigh and the Ridge. You already have an easement there. So when you go to elect your elected officials, that's when you would need to come back and make sure that your elected officials at that time are protecting what it is that you want to see happen in roadways. But it won't be on a thoroughfare plan, and it won't be something that you necessarily have to fear because it's a ticking time bomb at some point. But it's always going to be something that you always got to pay attention to with elected officials, that they're representing you appropriately. And so I view this the same way. I think the motion honors the Trip 21, and I think at the same time, I don't think that it dishonors TxDOT in any way or ITS. And I'll state it for the sixth time, no one stated that when you tell us the locally preferred, we will never look at anything else, and if we can't figure it out or we don't like it, we're just going to abandon it, or I think the term was shelf it. I haven't heard that. If I did, then I would probably maybe want to move the motion in a different direction.
Can I ask a clarifying question then?
Sure.
I guess, are we leaving? Okay, I'm not even sure what my clarifying question is. I guess my concern truly is that we'll spend the money on an alignment and an engineering study that won't be prioritized for a building because it's not technically preferred.
I did not hear that. You keep making these claims. I, as the mayor of the city of Heath, never once heard any engineer or the county's consultant say, I can just look at it and I can tell you it's not technically preferred. Never once.
No,
Correct,
I mean,
Mr.
absolutely.
Alexander? Okay.
I have said that the current alignment could be technically preferred. I'm not saying that it might not. Nobody knows, I guess, is the problem. And so, that's just the struggle I have is that it's a lot of money. And if we're saying they can only consider an alignment that may or may not be technically preferred. I trust TxDOT, and I know that their technically preferred standards and priorities align with my own. They try to minimize property. They try to protect property as much as possible. And I don't know. I don't know. I understand the argument that the Trip 21 bond was vetted, and so that money should be spent only for a current, a specific alignment. And I'm not sure I disagree. I'm kind of wondering if we should even borrow the money, I guess, is my question. Because you're right. I don't know if you're right, but if you are right that the Trip 21 bond limits where you could possibly align the road, and TxDOT, it looks at all our $3 million worth of work and says, that's not what I would have done. And I'm not going to invest many, many millions more on building a road the way I don't want it built, right? Then we've wasted that money. So that's my concern.
But
Very
at the end
good.
of the day, they're just going to come back with recommendations, right? So they're going to come back with recommendations on locally preferred and technically preferred. And to the mayor's point, whoever is sitting in that chair and in the council's chair at that time will have the ability to assess what is brought back.
Okay. So we are
Correct.
leaving it open for assessing different
Mr.
possibilities
Mayor,
in the future.
Mr. Mayor, am I understanding that correctly?
Yes, I again, believe that we need to give the direction on the locally preferred.
Yep.
And where TxDOT finds technical concerns, then
Right.
they will work with their partners, us being a partner as a local entity,
Right.
to try to dialogue the technical concern.
I totally agree with that, as long as we keep them together.
Okay, well, we have a motion on the floor. We have a second. I believe we've had good deliberation on this item, and I do believe that we need to set the tone of the locally preferred. So at this time, the motion moves. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Passes unanimously. And the motion was made by Councilwoman Horn and seconded by Councilman Myers. Thank you. Very good. Thank you, council. And thank you to all the residents. Appreciate everybody's diligence on this and even leaving the last meeting in council doing research and the meetings, and thank you to staff for teeing up a lot of short notice meetings. At this time, we'll now move into Agenda 5.b. This is discussion and action on an ordinance authorizing the issuance of City of Heath, Texas combination tax and limited surplus revenue certificates of obligation series 2026. Mr. Ayers.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I'd like to invite Jim Sabonis, our financial advisor with Hilltop Securities. We finalized the bid results of the certificates of obligation for the Water Bridge Plan, and he's prepared a presentation for you all.
Good evening, Mayor, council members, citizens of Heath. As the city's financial advisor, on your behalf, we received bids at 10 o'clock this morning. This presentation summarizes the bond process itself and the results of the bid. I handed out a summary presentation that I put together, and I'll refer to page 2 in the summary. The goal of this was to fund $41.5 million of the Water Bridge Plan by issuing certificates of obligation, which are the Texas Double Barrel Pledge. We pledge a combination of ad valorem taxes and net revenues of the utility system, but our budgeted repayment will be from the utility system. Tax exempt, we wrap this around the existing debt to make sure we have minimum impact to ratepayers. We have a standard 10-year call, but we also added an extraordinary optional call, which allows us up to May 31st of 2029 to call all of the bonds or any portion of the bonds at par. We went through the rating process. The city was confirmed with very positive AA+ bond rating, and this was a competitive public sale. We received 2 bids today, and
Hey, Jim, just real quick, can we just expand on the 3-year call feature? Just you may recall that we are seeking some grant funding for some of our Water Bridge Plan projects, and so this 3-year call feature, if we are successful in obtaining a grant from Texas Water Development Board and it funds a portion of the projects within the Water Bridge, within this bond issue for the Water Bridge Plan, then we'll be able to call some of these bonds earlier and pay the money back, essentially, and not have it on our debt any longer, if the council so chose to do that, as opposed to using that money toward another project. But it gives us flexibility. It gives us, instead of waiting 10 years to refund some debt, we can do it in a 3-year time frame.
we had to follow up on that. During the many discussions and work sessions that we involved in, there's a number of variables that might allow to reduce the cost to the city. So this optional call allows you to prepay. It doesn't require you to prepay if you receive the grant. It allows you to prepay if you choose to. We received 2 bids today, and this is one of those situations where it's not how many bids we received, it's what those bids are. There were 2 bidders. They were 2 basis points apart. Wells Fargo Bank was the low bidder. And over the last 2 weeks, we've had 3 or 4 AAA or AA plus sales. We compared the actual yields of this transaction. They're very comparable to what took place there. What took place, from a summary, was that we have that special call. I think a couple firms felt they didn't want to deal with it. The firms that did deal with it, it kind of ignored and just bid what the market was. So we're very pleased. And to give you a figure from reference point, when we started this process, we actually, in the initial presentation, had an interest rate of 4.52%, but that included a buffer of 25 basis points. So to be factual, if we'd been in the market then, we would have been somewhere around, still about 25 basis points higher than what we have this current bid at. And then the most recent market has come down, and at the very last presentation we did, actually matched up exactly at the 407 where we are right now in 407. So it represents a current efficient market bid. The net results are, and I'll go in detail, that we're going to be funding $38,845,000 of bonds. We're going to receive a premium that will allow us to pay cost of issuance and to actually make up the addition in our project fund. So we'll actually close and receive the full $41,500,000 of project fund. The total principal and interest will be about $64,682,000. Average annual is about $3,080,000. It's actually $1.8 million less than what we actually did in the original presentation. The next page is the results of the rating report. And I briefly discussed this previously. There's a copy of the rating report in Appendix A. But again, everything the city is doing, rated strong or very strong by S&P, strong management, good financial policies and practices, strong budgetary performance, operating surpluses, strong budgetary flexibility, fund balance of 48% of operating expenditures, strong liquidity, total government available cash 3.9 times total government fund expenditures. The outlook is stable. There's no indication that our rating would change going forward. Very strong rating and something we anticipated. On slide 4, this I think is an interesting slide. It kind of describes how we actually do the competitive sale. We use a standard Muni Hub system that's standard industry, where we actually proactively go out and send emails, advertise the sale to approximately 1,727 different individuals. Of that, we had 383 people access the information we had on the depository, and they did it a total of 709 times. And actually, I will forward the list of the participants to Steve and Jay tomorrow. It's just the entire industry looks at this process. On page 5 is our bids that we have, prominent competitive bidders in this market. And page 6 is actually the final sources and uses. It's interesting because, again, there's concern that inflation is still built into, going to be coming in the system. As a result, we sold these at a premium. And we set this up where whether we structure bonds to get the lowest principal and interest to the city, the lowest principal interest was this premium bid. And what it means is that at the rate that we received, they actually paid a slightly higher interest rate than what the actual market rate is for those bonds. As a result, we'll actually sell the $38.8 million, but receive $42 million in proceeds, pay our cost of issuance, and end up with $41,500,000. We're allowed to actually offset our cost of issuance with generating proceeds by Texas law. 20 years, and all-in cost includes actually the interest cost plus the cost of issuance came in at 4.13%. Right now, our existing 2026 principal and interest is $1,857,000, and our average annual after this will be about $4,020,000, an increase of $2,170,000. My understanding that's already built into the rate increases that you anticipated. This is the actual detail of your existing debt, and when I mentioned how we wrapped the debt around that, you can see that we deferred some principal to minimize the impact and kind of level out your debt service. And you'll see that on the far right, we kind of come to that average of slightly over $4 million by allowing the structure of our bonds as indicated. And lastly, on slide 8 is our schedule. You know, we've had numerous meetings to talk about the bond sale, the structure, and tonight you have on the agenda an ordinance to authorize issuance. Greg Schechner, your bond counsel, is here and present. He drafted the notice of intent and the process to start the process going forward. He's drafted the ordinance and reviewed the bond purchase agreement provided by Wells Fargo. If you approve tonight, he'll take those documents, submit them to the Attorney General for review and approval. We expect delivery on May 21st. In summary, this is probably one of the most exhaustive processes we've done in a bond issue. I congratulate you, Council, and your Finance Committee to think through what the needs of the community are and the goals that you have. I think this is an efficient execution, both funding-wise and flexibility if you receive the funding to be able to pay it back. I want to thank Steve and Jay for their patience and guidance in working with us. And as your financial advisor, I believe it achieves your goals. It's less principal interest, a lower interest rate than at any time than we presented to the public, and every other goal that you have about the flexibility of payback is built into this. So we're proud to present this and recommend approval.
Very good. Thank you, sir. And thank you for your hard work. And I do appreciate that you said that's been the most exhaustive process you've ever seen. Ladies and gentlemen, we work hard here in Heath to make sure we're making good decisions. So, and what an honor it is to have you work hand in hand with our new finance board. Great group of individuals that made some great recommendations. Okay? Thank you, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I have a motion.
Real quick, Mr. Alexander, did we have any other items?
Mr. Mayor, staff doesn't have any additional items unless council wants to discuss any further the bond program, for projects. We're prepared to talk about those if you'd like. And if you have any other questions regarding the bond issuance, we're here to answer any of those questions you might have.
I don't. Council, do you have any questions for staff? We've met about this 262 times in 39 minutes, something along those lines.
I want to make a comment on the flexibility
Please do.
part. I love the word flexibility on the payback, and also we've talked about it numerous times on the flexibility on the payout on our projects. And I just want to say, obviously, thank you for all your hard work on this, Jim. And also, when we go to spend this money on the projects, my only recommendation is just to make sure that these projects are justified. You know, we're going to spend all this work to make sure we do the right thing. We're going to take our time, but we also need to be cognizant of when we go to spend that money as well. And make sure that all these projects are totally justified and supported by engineering data and so forth. So that's my comment.
Yeah, very good. We've been doing that with the water bridge plan. Thank you, Councilman. Councilman Dotson.
Mr. Mayor, I move to approve ordinance number 260428B, authorizing the issuance of the City of Heath, Texas, combination tax and limited surplus revenue certificates of obligation, Series 2026.
Very well. We have a motion on the floor. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have a second by Councilman Myers. Any further discussion? If not, the motion moves. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed? Passes unanimously. Thank you, council. A lot of hard work on this. Appreciate you. Moving into agenda item 5.c, discussion and action regarding a temporary well pump system to be installed at well number 1. Mr. Creed.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So just some little bit of quick background. You all know we drilled a well in our park. It currently has no pump in it. It's just a hole in the ground with casing and a sealing block.
I'd like you to call it the big, beautiful hole in the ground.
Of course, sir. Well number 1, the big, beautiful hole in the ground, is currently out here, and it will not be fully put in for permanent use until next summer. You know, we have a pretty significant lead times on our transformers or electrical. The pump is just a couple of months getting that out, but the electrical was a much longer lead time. And so what I was tasked with is seeing if we can get something going, get this well giving us some water now. And we reached out to C. Miller, and it turns out they do have a rental system that they can put in there, and that's what you see before you tonight. It's for installation from C. Miller for a temporary well pump to support the irrigation of the park during the summer months. Hill & Wilkinson has helped us with the electrical portion of this because we provide a new service coming out of the park transformer to run this smaller pump, so we don't need an additional big transformer that our permanent pump will need later on. The system will restore and maintain the water level in the park to help irrigate these fields. The system will be replaced by the permanent pump when the necessary electrical service is put in by Encore and those
Right, and which at that time too, we still have to build out the chlorination housing.
Correct.
As we're going to be taking the potable water up to the tower.
Correct. So
this is a temporary solution to say, hey, let's use our big, beautiful hole in the ground this summer as we're getting it connected into the system for potable water use.
Correct. So those portions will continue to move forward. They're going to go ahead and develop this side of the wellhead to bring the irrigation water to the pond. The potable side will be developed when the more permanent installation occurs. The part of the project is Encore will de-energize the park, the existing transformer in the park. A company called McBride Electric, which is a sub for Hill & Wilkinson, will excavate under and enter the transformer. They're going to have to go under there, break they said a ceramic window. Forgive me, I'm not familiar with electrics, but they would have to go in there. There's some modifications of the transformer they do have to do to bring that service out. They will pull a 3-inch conduit from the bottom of that transformer. It's approximately 60 feet across to bring it to the wellhead instead of 250 amp disconnect and the service connection or the whip for the pump. C. Miller will install the rental pump. They're going to supply a motor starter, what we call a VFD or variable frequency drive that's allow the pump to ramp up and ramp down slowly so you don't harm your motor or anything downhole. They'll make the wellhead connections necessary to bring it over to the pond and connect the pump to the controls for service. The schedule for this, if passed tonight, pump's installation is expected May 7th through the 10th. He believed he'd get out here the 7th or 8th. He's a little concerned about how wet it is right now, but he believes he can get that done in here. Electrical service is expected within the next 2 weeks, is what McBride gave me. They didn't give me a very precise like C. Miller did, but they said they think they can get that knocked out within the next couple of weeks if approved tonight. And we fully expect to have the pump operational by the end of May. The cost on it for the rental pump is $68,000. That is a 6-month rental price. It's $20,000 for the installation and then $48,000 for the actual rental. And then the electrical cost to install for the electrical service is $24,183.78, and I believe y'all both provided with all that documentation. The total cost will be $92,183.78. I'll take any questions.
Very good. And ultimately, the idea is that staff's looking to make sure that, hey, as we go to get this potable well connected, Is there a way to get some service during the heat of this summer so we don't have any creation of compression in our neighbors, our residents, not being able to water their lawn, but yet we're trying to water a park, right?
Correct. Yes, sir.
So this is a temporary solution to make sure that we don't create any issues with the residential use.
That is correct.
Okay. All right. At this time, the floor is open for any questions for staff.
Mr. Mayor?
Go ahead.
Councilman Dodson?
So, thanks, Brian, very much for that. So to operationalize this at 300 gallons per minute, that's about 432,000 gallons per day. Is this all potable water?
It is not. It will be for irrigation only.
Right. What is
Well,
the testing?
it's a potable well.
Correct.
That we will, at a later date, we will connect up to the chlorination that will feed into the tower. So it is potable. I drank it. But what they're gonna do is temporarily use it to water the park.
Gotcha. Couple other questions on that. What's the volume of this well as tested thus far on gallons per day?
They ranked it, they're designing the pump and ranked and estimated it about 790 gallons per minute, which puts us just north of 1 million gallons per day.
Okay.
That's what came out of the pressure
That's the production
testing.
values, yes, sir.
That's fantastic. And are there any concerns with temperature or mineralic content of the water that has been pulled out that's been preliminarily tested?
So there was some concerns, and we did some research about the temperature. The mineral contents have not been brought back. I do happen to know them off the top of my head because I cheated and went and looked. However, as long as we're blending the water with our purchase system, there should be minimal effects to that.
Are you
Okay.
referencing for watering purposes for the park?
Yeah, I guess I need clarification on that.
Councilman Dodson?
Okay.
No, yeah, Mr. Mayor, I'm just wondering in general, just
Oh,
on what,
okay.
on what this well has yielded thus far in terms of those three verticals that I talked about: volume, temperature, and mineralic content.
So when we were talking about irrigation, there's some little bit of a sodium content, so we're going to have to test our soil for its what we call SAR score.
Right.
I think we all learned about that in the gardening seminar we had a couple weeks ago. But through irrigation, we've coordinated with Heath Golf and Yachts. They're agronomists. They use a well. It's in the same aquifer. They have the same issue. We spoke to him about the percolation of the sodium through the soil, how to deal with that, and we believe we can handle it. Other than that, the heat should be dissipated within the pond. It's just a mixture of whatever rainfall we get, the pond, what sits in the pond. We'll fill it prior to utilizing the watering at night. We'll fill it during the day when operators are actually here.
Right. Well, as Kimley Horn had told us on the softscape materials they're putting in, it's just really super critical that they stay wet, particularly the sod, so that it takes root and that we can open our park on July 4th as planned. My last question, Brian, is in addition to these costs that you've outlined, are there any ongoing maintenance costs that you are recommending for the maintenance of this pump prior to us getting our permanent pump?
So the maintenance will be the responsibility if there's any issues of C. Miller. During this course, this is their pump. We're paying the rental price. The only thing we're doing is operating it.
Gotcha. Understood. Thank you, Brian. No further questions, Mr. Mayor.
Councilwoman Horn?
I have a couple questions for you. So in our packet, it said that the permanent pump is gonna be ready later this year. Do we have a estimated, I know you asked for 6 months for the temporary one, but we don't have a timeline for the other one to be ready.
We don't. So originally, this was a 22-month project is how it was billed out originally. The last thing I have heard concerning was the lead time was much longer for the electrics than the pump. Mr. Miller has stated that likely if and we haven't got the final pump approval done yet, but likely that will be done in a matter of weeks. He's not concerned about that being a matter of months, but we're still measuring the transformer delivery in a matter of months. And what the last we heard is maybe we could get it within 10 months.
Okay. So the money that's being used to pay for this, it's coming from the 2023 Capital Improvement Fund, correct? Could that money be used to fix roads?
To answer that, yes. I mean, you can use any of the
Well,
capital improvement for kind of any of those things.
Mr. Mayor, just real quick, whenever we issue these bonds, the purpose is laid out within the bond covenants. And I'm not sure, I don't believe that, Jay, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that particular bond issue had roads as a purpose. It had the.
Oh, so you're pulling the 90,000 from the bond money,
Yes, sir.
not generally the capital improvement money.
So this is related to irrigating the park, and so we could take that out of that bond issue. We could do that. Yeah, but you're bringing up a great question. Likely this will come out of the utility capital reserve fund.
Oh, so I
Yes.
misspoke.
Okay.
Sorry.
Thank you for asking that question.
I just want to make sure that when we're committing to about $90,000, that we are doing what's best by our residents as they are driving over roads that are substandard, even though we've made a lot of accomplishments in that realm. I just want to make sure that we're being responsible with how we spend that money. If we can't use that to, fix something that could impact residents every day, and we need to water the park. One other question I had is, if we don't get this piece of equipment, how would we water the park?
You would have to use domestic water that we currently have.
Okay,
Which is what is being done now.
Correct.
okay. Thank you.
Very good. Any other questions? Oh, Councilman Moore.
I do. Along the lines of being a good steward of the city's finances and how much this costs, I was just curious on the pump that is supplying 300 gallons. Is that because of the size of the pump? Is that it has the capability of producing 300 gallons a minute?
Yes, sir. So because of the reduced capability of our electric service, we're confined to how large the pump can be. If we're going to piggyback off our existing park transformer, it cannot run a 700 or 800 gallon a minute pump. It didn't have the ability to supply the kind of kilowatts you would need. So they happen to have this pump that can just work off a 250 kV service. And we're able to just pull the disconnect out of there, set a VFD, and it'll run off the existing service. But yes, that is the electric service is the squeeze here. Is why we can't get a bigger pump.
Okay, and where I was going with that is just the demands of the park per day. It's been a long time since I studied those numbers. I believe it's like 95,000 a day. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
For growing, I interrupted you.
Oh,
No,
for
you're
growing,
fine.
yes, yes. For the establishment of growing it, getting it started, it was 90. And so where I'm backing into this is kind of from an engineering lens. Can we get a smaller pump, or is this overkill?
So this would, on average, on our worst day, we believe, would have to be run somewhere around 6 hours per day. And for that the pump would need to be sized for this size for it'd be able to function during the service portion of when we have staff here. And it's also the pump that C. Miller has in hand. They would have to have something else built, which I suspect they would want us to then purchase.
Okay.
This is a pump they have on hand for these very, very things they rent out to be able to help folks utilize along the way while they're having something more permanent built.
In addition to you stating that they have this available, it's on hand.
Yes, sir.
But you're also stating that it's not oversized because it's available.
Okay, so it's not I don't think it's oversized for what we need if we're going to use it during the day when we're here. Otherwise, you'd have to remain well on all the time if you want to try to get 200 gallons a minute or 100 gallons a minute. We estimate to get the needs now for the growing season, we're going to have to run it a little over 6 hours per day currently. And we have, if you include lunch, it's a 9-hour workday for the operators here. We prefer that be running while we're here because it will have to be manually turned on and manually turned off. There is no automatic turn off or turn on. So to leave something just operate, if anything occurred overnight, we wouldn't know. We'd have to get a phone call or something like that.
Okay, and then last question, from my experience with these wells, is that the water tables do change in peak demand, and so is my experience that the 700 and change that it may produce now, it may not produce that in the heat of the summer. So is there a way, if this was to be approved, to also know by using this rental of if there is fluctuations with how much it is producing?
Sure.
Can we get data feedback from
you can.
this?
You can. So there's something called an airline, and then you have, of course, how many GPMs the well is producing based on your meter. So you can see that, and that's really your two maintenance items on even the permanent well, is you're going to see, and when I say airline test, okay, okay. So you have the casing. You have the tubing that runs down the middle. The airline goes with it, right? So you have a pressure reading on that airline at the top that you can take that number based on pressure, multiply it by 2.31. Every foot of pressure is 2.31 feet of water, right, on the bottom of the airline. Same thing you do on a water tower. So you can figure how many feet it is from the bottom of that casing to the top of the water. How far has it come up inside that casing? Right now, we drilled around 3,450 feet. The water comes all the way up to about 600, little over 600 feet below the surface. So you have 2,400 feet or 2,800 feet of water sitting in your casing. So we take that airline test and we measure as we're pumping, how far does that drop? That's your drawdown. The difference between your static before you turn on the pump, after you run the pump. We ran it for 36 hours and we watched that drawdown. And the drawdown was not significant enough to have to lower that pump lower than 1,200 feet. We're going to set our big pump at 1,200 feet because it'll be able to pump, we know, for a couple of days and without issue, continuously. I don't know that we're going to see on a well this size any significant drawdown at 300 gallons per minute pumping 6 hours a day. I don't know how valuable that data is even going to be, but we certainly can get it.
So in summary, what you just said non-technically is that, yes, we do have the ability with this rental to be able to give us feedback on the conditions or any changes from what the well produces.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Good question. Any other questions? No questions? Thank you, sir. All right, at this time, if there are no further discussion or questions for this agenda item, the chair will open the floor to entertain a motion.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we allow the city manager to move forward to purchase or to rent the temporary pump for water well number 1 to enable the city of Heath to water our town center park.
Very well. Motion is made by Councilman Dodson. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Councilwoman Horn. Motion moves. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Nay.
All right. Moving into agenda item 5.d, discussion on the development of the annual budget and plan of municipal services for fiscal year 2026 to 27 and related capital improvement programs. Mr. Ayers.
Thank you, Mayor and Council.
Hey, Jay, can I just say something real quick on this particular, Mr. Mayor, on this particular item? So Jay's going to go over a revised budget calendar with you this evening, answer any questions that you might have on it. But we're going to have a series of workshops with the City Council, with our Finance Board as we go through the next couple of months regarding budget development. And so the idea behind some of these meetings, particularly this evening, would be to get just general high-level input that you might have, whether you've heard it from citizens or whether you have something on your mind as far as a priority that we should focus on at the staff level as we're developing the proposed budget to bring back to you at the beginning of July. And so, of course, as we go through this process, there's always going to be opportunity for you as individual council members to email Jay or myself if you have ideas along the way or questions about the budget. We stand ready to answer those questions. It does not always have to be in a public meeting setting. Certainly we'll bring those items up as we get back into public work sessions with the council on the budget. But tonight is an opportunity to go through the budget calendar with you, kind of bring you up to speed of what that looks like. Of course, answer any questions you have on that, and then kind of let you know at high level at this point things that we are already working on or know we're going to be working on in the development of this next year's budget. And so with that, I'll turn it over to Jay.
So this is the revised budget calendar for FY27. Last week, April 22nd, we had our budget kickoff meeting with all of our department heads, walking through the process of entering a line item budget request for FY27, as well as any supplemental requests related to personnel, capital improvement projects, and just capital expenditures. Between April the 28th and the 12th, we'll be confirming goals and assumptions and timelines. And everything is due in from the departments regarding their operating budget and CIP requests is due on May the 12th. In between the 13th and the 30th, we'll be doing internal budget reviews. On the 26th, we'll discuss with City Council at the regular City Council meeting the proposed budget and the development process. We'll also, the next day, talk to the Finance and Audit Advisory Board in regards to the proposed budget as well. And then we'll have more internal budget review meetings between June 1st and the 15th. On the 23rd of June, we'll come back before you all and have that discussion on the development of the budget and how it's going, as well as on the 24th with the Finance and Audit Advisory Board. On July 7th, we'll submit the proposed FY27 budget to City Council and file the proposed budget with the City Secretary. And on the 14th, we'll have the presentation of the proposed budget. At that meeting, we'll also have City Council approve the proposed tax rate associated with the budget, the proposed budget. July 15th, we'll submit the notice of a public hearing on the proposed budget, and July 18th is the deadline to file the proposed budget in accordance with the TML dates.
Yeah, that's a statutory requirement. We'll be ahead of that schedule by filing on July 7th.
On the 21st, that will be the special session with City Council to discuss the proposed budget. On the 25th, the tax rolls are due from the Rockwall Central Appraisal District. We'll have a hearing and discussion on the proposed budget on July 28th. We'll have the notice of the public hearing on the proposed tax rate on August the 3rd. On August the 4th, we'll have another opportunity to discuss the proposed budget. And on August the 11th, we plan on adopting the proposed budget and having a hearing and adoption of the tax rate. Just some key elements, assumptions and drivers of the FY27 budget. Just our preliminary taxable values that we received from Rockwall Central Appraisal District. They're currently $200 million higher than this current fiscal year. We do have a proposed 24% increase in your water rates in accordance with the utility rate study that was done to support the Water Bridge Plan.
And just for clarification on we want to bring this up to you just for everybody's kind of recollection that, you know, when we did the rate study this last summer, there were 3 years of increases for water and sewer rates, if you recall, 24%, 24%, and then I think 16% for water. Now, that said, a couple things are going to be playing into what that actually turns out like. For example, what are revenues in the summertime looking like from those rates? Are they generating what we expected? And if they are, then that keeps us on track with the plan. If they're less, then that could change. If they're more, that can change the plan. Also, the second lift and the second and third lift, if you recall, included another bond issue coming into play in a year, which may or may not happen. If council wants to do that, that's fine. We'll bake that in. If it doesn't, that would naturally change what the calculation of the next year's increase might look like. So the only reason we put 24% on here is because that's the last number that everyone heard, and just reminding everybody that we did talk about that, and so that will be an item we're working through as we develop the budget to bring to you in July.
And we'll be applying for a grant.
That's right. I mean, the idea at this point is to seek aggressively grants for the Water Bridge Plan. If we can get, funding for some of that Water Bridge Plan, that could have a significant, that can have a significant impact on future rate adjustments.
Also, a part of the FY27 budget, we'll establish a new waste collections contract that'll be coming to an end with Waste Connections in the next year. Also, there are some increased costs associated with building and maintenance for our new facilities coming online. We have the Public Works building, 2 public safety facilities, and as well as Town Center Park. There'll be some additional costs there to support those new facilities. Additionally, with those 2 new public safety facilities, we're looking to add in a significant amount of public safety staffing to fill those 2 facilities. And also, on the capital side of things, we're looking at the continuation of the citywide street improvement program in FY27. We're looking at the Key Drive drainage project, the Larry Drive, which we discussed previously in our meetings, road improvement project, and the sewer infrastructure projects, which we really haven't touched on since I've been here, but those are some key things that we need to, that you all may need to direct your attention to in regards to the FY27 budget and beyond.
So a couple things with regards to the Department of Public Safety staffing, working with the chief on a kind of a short-term, I guess if you will, multi-year staffing plan to bring people on as incrementally as we can and still be able to staff up our facilities like we need to. And we'll be sharing all that data with the city council as we move forward with the proposed budget and bringing that forward to you. As it relates to the capital, we'll have a special time during the budget process where we go through the capital improvement plan. And that'll be a 10-year capital improvement plan that we will lay out for you, at least projects that we have identified along with updated project costs. A couple things we have heard from you is, Larry Drive is a project that council wants to focus on. Key Drive is a project that needs to be focused on. And understand that there'll be other projects, for example, the Ridgemont Bridge, project as well. So we'll be fleshing all that out with City Council as we go through the budget process.
And that ends my presentation. If there's any feedback that you have.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Ayers. Council, are there any questions for staff? All right, very well. Thank you, Mr. Ayers. We all look forward to our calendars being full of those meetings. I saw everybody just look to Norma and hoping that she's going to make sure that's on everybody's calendar. So plan your vacations. All right. Moving into agenda item 5.e, discussion and update on current capital projects to include, but not limited to, the Hubbard Drive project, the Water Bridge Plan, Town Center Park project, Terry Lane Road rehabilitation, Candlelight Fire Flow, Public Works Facility, Trails, and the Street Maintenance Program. Mr. Curry.
All right, thank you again, Mayor. As stated, this is an update on all the projects. A lot of this stuff you've seen, I give an update pretty regularly on this, so there may not be a whole lot of difference between last time a storm line's installed here or a piece of concrete's poured there. But as it pertains to Hubbard Drive, They have installed some storm, actually, is what's occurred since the last update. And they're working on bringing in flex base on that excavated issues. They start to bring that roadway back up to move down. No, those are, and there's also some concrete that's going to be poured in some existing drives and near intersections. If you're driving through there, you're going to see coming up. That's what subgrade's being worked for that. They have had some delays. We're still well within the contract on this one. I don't know if you want me to take questions individually or just move through them all, Mayor.
No, we'll just continue through. Council, if you have any questions, just speak
Again,
up.
I always like to share the detour map and express that anyone would like to follow any of these construction projects, visit our website at heathtx.com and click on the construction updates. The city of Heath Water Bridge Plan, we just talked about the big beautiful hole in our park, Town Center Park, well number 1. As stated, the 36-hour pump test has been completed on that. Obviously, drilling rig is demobilized. There's nothing out there now, except you'll see where a seating block is and the wellhead's coming up. We did pass tonight the temporary pump to get us through this summer, but we do expect it to be online by next year. Water wells 2 through 4 are still in the design phase. We are scheduled to have 90% plan review completed on these by the end of May. And forgive me, lab results being analyzed was for well number 1. I don't have anything to add on these yet. Like I said, we haven't made it to the final plan review. The elevated storage tank plan review is complete. The next step on this item will be bringing this forward for advertisement and bidding. I don't know if we've received back the TCQ approval, but that should be imminent. The 3 million ground storage tank, we're at 60% plan review we've already completed. We're at 90%. I think it's 2 weeks from yesterday. We're going to have 90% plan review. And after that, it will move forward into the same. We will go to TCQ review, and should we choose, it'll move into the bidding phase. I do want to bring something up on the elevated storage tank. One of the things we are looking for feedback on, and I talked to Mr. Alexander about this a little bit, is if there's anything for logos. Well, if there's anything special we're looking for on this tower, the council has anything you want to add to that, now's the time. We'd love feedback on that, or if we're just still doing what's on the other towers, that's great too. But we wanted to provide that opportunity to get that in the design.
I think since you brought that up, and anybody can email thoughts to staff, but the first thing that comes to mind is the premier outdoor lifestyle community, kind of that lifestyle quadrant is a unique idea. I think Heath Golf and Yacht may be interested in having their logo on one side. I don't know. So just since you asked.
Yeah, we could do all those things, and that's exactly why I asked.
I thought you were going to say Jeremiah. I was relieved when you said that.
Never. Big, beautiful tower.
All right, awesome. The Town Center Park. The park is substantially complete. I didn't have any pictures that didn't reflect anything I hadn't already showed you in the last one. We are still lacking a little bit of surfacing on the pickleball courts. We had a setback there with some old materials they used. It turns out it was, I guess, expired, so they have to scrape that off and re-put it back on. But other than that, 95% of the planning's all done. We're in maintenance mode, and we're looking to finalize the project and turn this over to park staff and open it up to the public.
Real quick question there. I get a lot of calls about the pickleball courts.
Yes.
They will open at the same time that Town Center Park does, July 4th. Is that?
I believe that would be the official answer. Yes, ma'am. They would be open when the park is open. Currently, technically, the park is closed. I realize the fence is down, and I do see some citizens enjoying the pathways. Yeah. But technically, the park is still closed.
Okay.
All right, so Terry Lane reconstruction. We're about 70% complete on this project. The eastbound lane was substantially complete, and why I say substantial is we have not done the very intersection of Smurl and Terry. And we're coming back down, we're about where Candlelight intersects Terry currently. And they had already done some down by the Terry Park in this eastbound, westbound lane. And so they're nearing that point of completion here. We have a traffic control plan and we have submitted to management. We're going to need to close the intersection of Terry and Smurl to be able to accomplish that safely. And we're going to complete that portion of the intersection all at one time. We have submitted that, and we're prepared to start the communications on that, but the intent is to close it on May 13th through May 24th for the reconstruction of that intersection portion. And if you have any questions on that specifically, that could be a topic. So,
When you say you're going to have to close down the intersection,
yep.
What's the?
All right, so the way they've been doing it currently is with local flaggers and then just blocking it off on one side. After we started looking at that, we did not feel comfortable leaving it overnight with a lengthy shutdown or even a semi-lengthy shutdown in one lane with somebody trying to come off Smurl at night and someone thinking it's okay to go without flaggers, without some kind of directional, hey, there's a car in this lane. It did not, we were going to have a problem. And to minimize that, we felt like we should do a detour, take them either around Meadowview or Larry, or whichever they prefer. They both would be open. Allow that to happen more quickly, do all the lanes all at once, have it shut down for the 9 days, and then open it back up.
Very good.
Okay. All right, the trails. I gave an update on trails at the last council meetings, so this is going to see a lot of the same stuff. On the Terry Trail, you see that there we do have the easements being created by FMI currently. Like I said, we have all the right of entries were done, all the surveys have been done. Now the easement documents are being. We have the layout done. We'll be able to take to the residents when we go to procure these easements, show them where we would like to put the trail, get their feedback, and hopefully get that easement signed so that we can get design and construction underway. The Hubbard Drive. So we've had a new wrinkle in this one. The project was really originally to connect for Hubbard. It still is, to connect Hubbard where the causeway is. There's a break in the trail at the causeway. We need to get residents from one side of the causeway to the other. How do we do that? We actually revised the trail plan to demonstrate a little V that went along the take line. It has become troublesome to be able to do that. We don't think we have the area or the topography to be able to reasonably build that. So we have identified a new route that we're going to have to bring to the Parks Board and the council and identify, and I'll show it to you right here. If you'll look at the this blue line, well, where's my marker? All right, terrible. Okay, so here's what the trail plan adopted. It brought along the back side of these lots. The take line is very narrow in some of these areas. There's some storm here, and the topography was as such that everyone felt like we should need to move it here and bring it up through here and bring it up through the middle of this subdivision and back around, and it will tie in right here. Now, I will need to have the trail plan brought back before the Parks Board and the City Council for approval. And we've already met with the developer, and he feels like this is reasonable and something we can get done, is my understanding. Any comments on that or questions? All right. The McDonald Trail update, I spoke about this one in the last one too. This is going to be a developer's agreement to be able to build this portion. My understanding, we're planning on bringing that development agreement back to you at the first meeting in May, I believe is what I said in the last presentation. And the city will be seeking a firm for easement acquisition to finalize the facilities agreement. So that's where we're at on that. There hasn't been a change in that since I spoke to you guys last. And that is the McDonald alignment. And I'll take, oh, I'm sorry. Here, next one is Candlelight Fire Flow. This project was awarded to Hayes Construction, as you know. The notice to proceed was given on April 20th. We did ask this contractor to take it easy on us. Let's get pretty far along on Terry Lane. We had some various conflicts with them wanting to work in the area of Terry Lane and do some staging. The actual contractor of Hubbard wanted to come up and close Larry and Hubbard for a portion to install some storm, and then we were trying to close Terry and Smurl to finish out this, so we really had to coordinate with them and said, no, you can't do this. And we decided to let Terry finish, get them out of the way. They are doing some preliminary work with some middles and a lay-down yard and things like that through their procurement, so they're working, but they're not really mobilized within the community yet. But that is the reason for it, is we just had a bottleneck of 3 converging projects all at once that we kind of had to navigate through. So that's why Candlelight is not moving forward just yet. The Public Works Building, you'll notice the picture on the left. We had a SkyTrack run into the building. The SkyTrack's still sitting here. I think those guys there are discussing the event as it just occurred. All right. The building shell is substantially complete, minus this part that's got to be taken down and put back up. After this strike, it did bend all the purlings around the door. It bent the actual inside door itself. Obviously, you see all the sheet metal is bent all the way up to what we would call the red iron, the actual stuff that's bolted to the ground. The impact was severe enough that they had to go back and reshoot the entire building to make sure it didn't move, so that everything else lines out. There is a 3-week procurement process for the sub to bring in all these new materials to put this all back. I do have a change order that's being reviewed. We're going to be bringing before management, and I don't know if that needs to come to city council or not, but I don't believe it does. But we're working.
On the road? Is this on the road?
It's just on the road. We're still working on it, and. But there is interior framing going on. There's wires being pulled inside. I think our data cables are being installed in the next few days, and things like that. So it's still moving forward, but we do have the setback on the farthest out bay, on the 12-foot bay, unfortunately. And it still looks like that if anybody wants to run out there and take a look. The street repair status report. The only streets that are currently under repair at this point are Terry Lane and Hubbard. We have completed all of the identified localized repairs in the pavement replacement process. This is all the areas that were addressed. Some of these areas that are listed here had multiple projects on them. This does not reflect the number of projects. It just reflects the number of roads we actually worked on. This is the latest and greatest. When it says future plan projects, there's identified another 20 in the tranche that we were going to get bids for if the funding continued. We did complete 62 individual projects throughout the process. Oh, and I'll be happy to take any questions.
Great job. Thank you, sir. Council, any questions for staff? Very good. You guys are doing a great job. Keep it up. All right. If there's no further questions for staff, that will conclude 5.E. And so we will now move into agenda item number 6. This is our executive session. In accordance with Texas Government Code Chapter 551, Subchapter D, the City Council will recess in executive session. This is a closed meeting to discuss the following. 6.A, 551.072, deliberate the purchase, exchange, lease, or value of real property regarding property owned by the City of Heath located at K&K 2, Block K21, Lot 1A, R. Acres 0.87, Heath TX 75032. We're now in executive session at 8:23. reconvene back into open session at 8:35. In accordance with the Texas Government Code, Chapter 551, the City Council will reconvene into regular session to consider action, if any, on matters discussed in executive session. There was no action to be taken on that item, correct? Okay. So with that being said, we will now adjourn this meeting at 8:35. Thank you, council.
Thank you.
Thank you.